Hi, welcome to the I'm Bringing Healthy Back podcast. I'm Rachel. Today, I'm just going to talk to you guys about why I don't count calories, why I don't advocate for calorie counting. So, I have about 20 minutes and then I have to go take care of the slow cooker Mexican street corn dip that I'm making. And I'm sitting over here not even worried about how many calories are going to be in a serving of it. And it's such a freeing thing for me. If you're new here, if you've never listened to a podcast or seen a vlog of mine, I have a history with disordered eating, and it took me many years to heal that relationship, but we are 99% on the other side. I'm not going to say there's not things that sometimes still bother me or come to my mind, but I'm so much stronger and I'm able to take those thoughts captive, and majority of the time I'm able to let things just roll off. If I have a day where I eat a lot and I know I eat a lot of junk food, it's not something that weighs on me and carries over into the next day, the next week. It's life, and there's so much freedom not being able to, or not having to deal with the weight, the mental weight, and the mental and physical struggle of restrictive eating or binge eating. So if you're someone who would like to be part of a community where I'm here advocating for you to heal your relationship with your food and your body image, I encourage you to consider subscribing if you're listening on YouTube, or following the podcast if you are listening on podcast. So if we go back to the beginning of my story is I was a sophomore in high school. I was still growing, but in my brain, I was like, I shouldn't be growing anymore. And I could feel that my metabolism had slowed down, because I used to be able to just eat until I finished my meal, or eat until I was like mentally satisfied with what I'd eaten. And I don't remember ever feeling like uncomfortably full. I just ate my portion and I was good, but I was getting to the point where I couldn't eat as much as I had in years previous. And so again, you're a sophomore in high school. Some people are done growing, but that doesn't mean your body is done developing. And in my case, turns out I was not done growing. And I had some freedom in what I had access to when it came to food. And I found that like foods that typically were restricted like by my parents, just because you don't need to be eating loads of candy or loads of cookie dough or loads of just not nutrient dense foods. But I was at the age where I had a lot more freedom to choose when I was eating and what I was eating. And I didn't know how to handle that. And so I could feel like I felt a little out of control. I felt my clothes getting tighter, and instead of I don't think I had guidance on like how to handle that, and I definitely didn't talk to anyone about that. And so my answer was restricting how often I could eat throughout the day. And after a while, like, that did what I wanted it to. My clothes stopped being so tight. But then I realized, like, this is not fun. Like, I get hungry in between my allowed times that I am allowing myself to eat. And so I'm like, okay, calorie counting. That will be more sustainable. Then I can eat when I'm hungry and I just can't go over X number of calories. And so I went forth with the calorie counting, and I was 15, 16. I didn't need to be calorie counting. I was active. I was playing sports. No one needs to be calorie counting at that age. Okay? Maybe there are some people, some young people who may need guidance on how to eat. I don't think I will ever be an advocate for calorie counting. And I'll touch more on this as we progress through this podcast episode. For me, I used a tool for adults to see, okay, how many calories should I be eating if I want to weigh X number of pounds? And then, knowing what I know now, I don't care how much I weigh because I work out, I lift weights. And so my BMI may be too high for my height, but that's because I have a lot more muscle mass. Again, didn't know any of this. So I don't remember how many calories the tool told me to eat. I don't think I went along with it because I was like, okay, I need this number of calories in order to be at this weight. Kind of just guessing. There was no guidance. There was very little research done. And so I tried that, and that probably seemed more freeing to start with. However, what I started doing was saving calories like throughout the day so that I could have a treat at the end of the day. And this led me to not adequately fueling my body throughout the day. And if we go back to my previous point, I wasn't fueling my body enough regardless of when I was consuming those calories, but I was definitely hungry throughout the day, and then I allowed my little splurge at the end of the day, staying within my total number of calories that I had allowed myself with no guidance. And that, needless to say, I did not gain weight back. I kept losing weight. And it came to a point where my best friend's mom asked my mom if I was sick because I was so thin. And I was cold all the time. And I remember just sitting in class. I was so cold throughout the entire day. But I would be sitting in class, and I remember I would eat multiple times throughout the day. I would have breakfast, I would have a morning snack, I would have lunch, I would have an afternoon snack, I would have dinner, I would have an evening snack. So it looked like I was eating a lot, but it was just that I was eating frequently, but I wasn't eating a lot of calorie-dense foods. And I just remember every day I would be writing down in my agenda, this is how many calories I have. How many calories have I eaten so far? Okay, what snacks have I brought with me? What is mom making for supper tonight? Okay, approximately. And I never knew the calorie count of supper, but it was always like, I'm pretty sure I exercised like portion control at supper time. I really don't remember. It's over a decade ago now. And so part of me is thankful that I don't remember exactly what I did for supper time, but there was just an obsessive calculating of my caloric balance every single day. And it was a lot. It was just, I don't remember a lot from high school, from when I started worrying about my body image through the end of high school, because it was a lot of it was just consumed with food and calories and what I'm eating and my body. Not good. I think I missed out on a lot of things, but you know what? That was my journey, and people are not alone. Okay, you're not alone if you're struggling with your relationship with food. I've been there. Other people are where you're at now. There is hope to get out of this struggle. So I think your body reaches a limit where, thankfully, I didn't go down the path of eating less and less and less and less. So that's a saving grace, thank God. But I went the other way. And around the time where my friend's mom mentioned how skinny I was to my mom, my dad would mention, you need to eat more protein. You need to eat more protein. And I don't think no one knew what I was doing. I wasn't telling people that I was calorie counting. I think he knew I just needed to eat more. And maybe he didn't know that was the problem, or maybe just maybe I did need to eat more protein, but in general, I just needed to eat more. And so I didn't eat less, but the thing is, I did like a 360 and I started binge eating because I got to a point where I knew it wasn't sustainable. I had lost my cycle. I knew it was because I wasn't eating enough. I didn't weigh enough. And I started binge eating, one, because I was like, okay, I do need to eat more, but I didn't know how to go from almost a year of restriction to I didn't know how to heal my relationship with food. I didn't know how to be free around food anymore. And so I was hungry, and I did want to eat. My body was trying to tell me to eat, but the thing was, I wasn't increasing how much I was eating throughout the day. I was still trying to calorie count because I felt like I had the control. But then at the end of the day, I started going to like salty and sweet and fatty snacks, and it was like I would just lose control at the end of the day. And that snowballed, and the binge eating just continued for years and years and years. I eventually stopped counting calories because I was binge eating, and I was just so overwhelmed with like, oh my gosh, I'm eating so many more calories. It was just so much that I stopped tracking. And that then followed just years of struggling with my relationship with food. Like, I knew how to eat well, but I was still I knew I was going to, like, I assumed I was just going to end up binging at the next day. And so if I binged at night, it was like I wanted to restrict in the morning. My belly didn't feel good, but I knew I was supposed to eat breakfast. But I was like, okay, maybe if I just don't, I was struggling between I don't want to gain weight and knowing I shouldn't be restricting. And the thing was, the restricting led to the binging. And so it was just this ugly, ugly cycle. And that continued for a lot of years. And I don't have an easy answer for what the grace of God is how I healed my relationship with food. But there wasn't just one thing that I did to heal my relationship with food. Unfortunately, like, I didn't tell people what I was struggling with until I was starting to get better. And I don't think that anyone should do that. But it was just, I felt so ashamed that I couldn't control myself around food. And food is something that brings people together. And it's not like a drug, or it's not like alcohol where it's not necessary for you to live. Food is necessary for you to live. And that's the hard thing when you're struggling with your relationship with food, is like, you can't just avoid it. And if you avoid it, that leads to worse things typically. Binging, for example. But once I knew I never wanted to go back to counting calories. And one thing that I had to unlearn, because I could do the calculations in my head, okay, I knew about how many calories are in a serving of this, this, and this, because when you count calories for months and months and months, it just kind of, you learn it and it stays in your brain. And so I had to make the conscious effort not to do that, because I didn't have a goal that I was trying to stay under. And if I did binge, I just felt terrible about how many calories are in that I just ate. And so for me, calorie counting was not healthy. And I knew I didn't want to count calories for the rest of my life. For me, it was about what is sustainable? What do I want healthy future Rachel to be like? And I completely understand some people want to lose weight in a healthy way, and counting calories can be a really helpful thing for them to just keep track of what they're eating and how much they're eating, just because maybe they're not aware of that. And it may just be a new thing for them. And some people aren't familiar with these type of foods are more calorie dense. These are less calorie dense. None of food isn't inherently bad. Some is more nutrient dense, some is less nutrient dense. So in that vein, I think it's important to have a knowledge about fats and carbs and protein and bacon versus chicken breast, peanut butter versus, maybe that's a bad one, mayo versus mustard, cheese, queso versus salsa, just the calorie density of foods to help you be like, okay, this is a very calorie dense food. Of course I can eat it and I can enjoy it, but maybe that's not something that I have every single day. And everyone is different. Everyone's metabolism is different. Activity levels are different, blah, blah, blah. But knowledge about food, I think, is important. People who are, for example, trying to lose weight or in a healthy way, people who are trying to lose weight, or people who are competing in bodybuilding competitions, for example. You count calories, you count macros because you are trying to reach a specific look. Now, I know there can be a lot of people who struggle with that, especially at the end of a competition when you've been eating such restricted calories, such restricted fat content for so long. And then after your competition is over, you're free. And I've just heard stories of people that go into weeks or months of maybe binge eating, but just like eating so much food because they haven't been able to have cookies, have sweet treats, have pizza, have burgers, have fries for so long that it like mentally, we want to rebel against the food prison that we've put ourselves in for so long. And on the flip side of that, there are some people who don't struggle with that. There are people who can go from competition prep and back into normal life, or what they call like refeeding, slowly bringing your calories back up so that you don't go into a binge cycle. And so for people, I think it's so individual. You have to know yourself and know what your goal is. If your goal is to be in a fitness competition, that's a different ballgame. If your goal is to just be a healthy individual and have a healthy relationship with food, I'm not going to advocate for calorie counting. I am on the side of intuitive eating. Now, intuitive eating is not just, am I full, am I hungry? That's one thing. But if you're going to eat pizza and sugary cereal and milkshakes, blah, 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 and just eat those foods when you're hungry and then stop when you're full, that's one step, but those are not necessarily very calorie dense foods. And so intuitive eating is, yes, hungry versus full. Being able to stop when you are full is one part of it, but feeding your body well. Your body will tend to crave like fresher foods or protein if you can slow down and listen. And I'm not going to say vegetables are my favorite thing to eat. They're not. I would much rather have other foods. But I know they're good for my body. And I know my body feels good when I eat it. So eating what makes your body feel good is also important. So that is why I don't calorie count and why I don't advocate for calorie counting. I know people can have different opinions on this, and this is just me. That's my story. I don't want to calorie count. That's not something that I want to take for the rest of my life that the Lord allows me to have here on earth. And one more thing is your activity level from day to day may differ. And so from one day to the next, your body may need more calories or less calories, depending on how active you are. And I don't want to be like, oh, I have X number of calories a day. What if I'm super active? My body is going to make me hungry if I am hungry. And I want that freedom to eat if I am hungry. Now, again, you put those limitations on yourself. If you're like, I'm going to have this many calories, you have the freedom to change that. So if you are someone who calorie counts, I just want you to keep that in mind. Your body's needs may change day to day, week to week, month to month, year to year, and allow yourself the freedom to adjust if you need to. My timer just went off for my slow cooker Mexican street corn dip. I'm gonna go take care of that. If you have any comments, drop those down below if you're listening on YouTube. I know on Spotify you can leave comments now. Give this video a big thumbs up if it resonated with you. Thank you so much for being here today, and I'll see you in the next episode.